Prince Andrew, son of the late Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, spent the first 22 years of his life second in line to the throne after his brother King Charles. Now, the Duke of York is no longer a current member of the royal family and has spent the last few years struggling with the fallout from his former friendship with convicted sex offender Geoffrey Epstein. Prince Andrew's fallout began in 2010 over his alleged ties to Epstein, but the heat escalated exponentially in 2015 when he was named in a civil lawsuit against Epstein. In the legal case, a woman subsequently identified as Virginia Geoffrey claimed that Epstein instructed her to engage in sexual activity with Prince Andrew 3 times when she was 17 years old. Geoffrey later initiated a lawsuit against the Duke of York in 2021, alleging non-consensual sexual contact, an accusation that Prince Andrew has consistently refuted. Before Prince Andrew's association with Epstein became widely known, the royal family member had a distinguished career in the Royal Navy, which included active involvement in the Falklands War. Born on February 19, 1960 at Buckingham Palace, Prince Andrew was the first child born to a reigning monarch in 103 years. His mother, Queen Elizabeth, having been crowned in 1953. He joined his older siblings, Charles, who as the eldest child was heir to the throne, and Princess Anne. Andrew's younger brother, Prince Edward, was born later in 1964. Prince Andrew first attended Heatherdown Preparatory School. Later, he was educated at Gordonstown Boarding School in Scotland, where his father and older brother Charles also attended. According to Buckingham Palace, Prince Andrew harbored aspirations of becoming a helicopter pilot from childhood. Following his departure from boarding school, he enlisted in the Royal Navy in 1979 and dedicated the ensuing 2 years to flight training. In 1981, Prince Andrew received his Wings and an award for Best Pilot from his father, Prince Philip. Andrew served as a helicopter pilot on the Royal Navy ship HMS Invincible, which was sent to the Falkland Islands in April 1982 after Argentina invaded British territory. During the 10-week war, Prince Andrew flew several missions, including anti-submarine warfare, surface warfare, search and rescue and casualty evacuation. When Invincible returned to the UK after the war in September 1982, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip were there to welcome their son. Prince Andrew concluded his service in the Royal Navy in July 2001, marking 22 years of active duty. As indicated by Buckingham Palace, upon his departure, he attained the rank of commander. In addition to his military service, Prince Andrew was married to his wife, Sarah Ferguson. Although Andrew and Ferguson had known each other since childhood, it wasn't until 1985 when Princess Diana, who was a close friend of Fergie's, introduced them in 1985 that they began dating. Diana added Fergie to the guest list of a party the Queen threw that summer during Royal Ascot. "We were made to sit next to each other," Andrew said of Diana's matchmaking in an engagement interview. "It was at Ascot that it all started." 9 months later, they were engaged, and in July 1986, Prince Andrew and Ferguson were married at Westminster Abbey. They were given the titles of Duke and Duchess of York by the Queen as a wedding present. As a result of the demands posed by Andrew's naval career, the couple decided to separate in March 1992, following nearly 6 years of marriage. They divorced in 1996 so Fergie could pursue her own career. "I didn't want a divorce, but I had to do it because of circumstances. I wanted to work. A princess of the royal house should not be commercial, so Andrew and I decided to make the divorce official so I could go out and get a job," Fergie told Harper's Bazaar. Prince Andrew and Fergie have 2 daughters, Princess Beatrice, born in August 1988, and Princess Eugenie, born in March 1990. Despite Andrew and Fergie's separation when their daughters were young, they remained dedicated to raising their daughters together. Following their separation, Fergie continued to reside at the family home, the Royal Lodge in Windsor. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie are now married. Eugenie married Jack Brooksbank in October 2018. Then Princess Beatrice married Edoardo Mapelli Mozzi in July 2020 in a quiet ceremony in Windsor with only 20 guests, including the Queen, due to COVID-19 restrictions. Andrew's friendship with disgraced financier Geoffrey Epstein was first criticized in late 2010 when photos of the two walking in Central Park surfaced, after Epstein served a prison sentence for having sex with a minor. The Guardian reports that because of the fallout from his ties to Epstein, Prince Andrew resigned as trade envoy in July 2011, a position he held for 10 years. Court documents in a Florida civil suit against Epstein revealed allegations made by a woman later identified as Virginia Geoffrey, claiming that the disgraced billionaire compelled her to engage in sexual activity with Prince Andrew on 3 separate occasions. According to the lawsuit, Geoffrey was 17 years old at the time, and her alleged encounters with Andrew took place in London, New York, and on Epstein's private Caribbean island. In April 2015, a Florida judge ruled that the sexual harassment allegations against Prince Andrew were murky and unnecessary to resolve the civil case against Epstein. After Epstein's suicide in August 2019, while awaiting trial on multiple sex offense charges, Prince Andrew participated in a no-holds-barred interview with BBC Newsnight regarding his past association with the convicted sex offender. In the interview, Andrew revealed that he regrets his friendship with Epstein, which began in 1999, especially after Epstein was found guilty of soliciting prostitution from a minor. Prince Andrew further stated that he had no recollection of meeting Geoffrey. "It just never happened," he said of the alleged meetings with Geoffrey. Immediately after the explosive interview, which was approved by the Queen, the prince faced a negative public reaction and announced that he was relinquishing his royal duties. It has become clear to me over the past few days that the circumstances surrounding my previous interactions with Geoffrey Epstein have become a serious disruption to my family and the valuable work being done at many organizations and charities that I'm proud to support. The message reads, "I therefore asked Her Majesty if I could withdraw from public duties for the foreseeable future, and she gave her permission." Geoffrey filed the lawsuit against Prince Andrew in August 2021 in New York. According to the statement, Geoffrey said, "Today, my attorney filed a lawsuit against Prince Andrew for sexual abuse under the Child Victims Act. As detailed in the lawsuit, I was sold to him and sexually abused by him," Geoffrey continued. "I am holding Prince Andrew accountable for what he did to me. The powerful and wealthy are not exempt from being held accountable for their actions. I hope that other victims will see that it is possible not to live in silence and fear. I hope that other victims will see that it is possible not to live in silence and fear, but to reclaim their lives by speaking out and demanding justice." During the initial hearing, which occurred virtually in September 2021, Prince Andrew's legal representatives described the lawsuit as baseless, unviable, and potentially illegal. In January 2022, his attorneys filed a motion to dismiss the case after it was revealed that Geoffrey had entered into a settlement with Epstein in 2009. As a result of the settlement, Geoffrey received $500,000 and agreed not to sue any other potential defendants. However, the judge denied the motion. In the midst of Geoffrey's lawsuit against Prince Andrew, Buckingham Palace announced that Andrew would no longer hold any royal or military titles. With the Queen's approval and consent, the Duke of York's military affiliation and royal patronage have been returned to the Queen, the palace announced a day after the judge refused to dismiss the lawsuit against Prince Andrew. The Duke of York will continue to assume no public duties and is defending this case as a private individual. As part of the decision, Andrew retained his title as Duke of York, but was no longer permitted to use His Royal Highness in any capacity, similar to Princes Harry and Meghan Markle following their decision in February 2020 to step down as members of the royal family. In February 2022, Prince Andrew settled out of court a sexual assault case brought against him by Geoffrey. However, the amount of the settlement was not disclosed. According to a joint statement from the lawyers, Prince Andrew intends to make a substantial donation to Miss Geoffrey's charity in support of victims' rights. Prince Andrew never intended to tarnish Miss Geoffrey's character and recognizes that she has suffered both. As an admitted victim of abuse and as a result of unfair public attacks, the settlement, which, according to the Telegraph, amounted to more than $16 million and was allegedly paid in part by the Queen, did not affect the palace's previous decision to strip Andrew of his military and royal titles. Despite his fall from grace, Queen Elizabeth ordered Andrew to accompany her to Westminster Abbey for Prince Philip's memorial service in March 2022. Prince Andrew attended the coronation of his older brother King Charles on May 6, 2023, although he played no formal role in the proceedings. In September 2022, he attended all of Queen Elizabeth's funeral in costume, rather than in military uniform like his siblings, with the exception of her final vigil. Andrew was also spotted at Christmas at Sandringham in December 2022 and at the traditional Easter Sunday service at Windsor in April 2023. In January 2024, court documents related to the lawsuit against Epstein were released, and Prince Andrew was among those named. But despite calls from the anti-monarchy group Republic to investigate Andrew's involvement in the allegations, police said they have no plans to look further into the situation at this time. We are aware of the release of court documents regarding Geoffrey Epstein. As with any other matter, if new and significant information is brought to our attention, we will assess it. No investigation has been initiated, the Metropolitan Police Department said in a statement released January 5th. The public has also raised questions about the possibility of King Charles stripping Prince Andrew of the title of Duke of York. The royal blog Gert's Royals soon shared information about the proceedings. Parliament could strip the titles, but in this case, they will have a hard time. Parliament, or the Honours Forfeiture Committee, has no power to decide if someone is guilty of a crime, the blog wrote. As Prince Andrew was never charged or convicted, he is innocent in the eyes of the UK government.